The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Thank you, everyone, for attending today's live product demonstration of Krow Professional Services Automation. Let's go ahead and get started. The best services experience are created with Krow, driving project profitability and customer success. Let's take a look through this demonstration of how Krow benefits all stakeholders, from sales to service, finance, and of course with customers as well. Okay, so I'm starting off from my home page. I'm going to start off as a project manager and or a consultant, so the services team. In this immediate example, I'm a project manager. I've navigated to my home page. I'm on my home page when I start my day, and here I can see immediate insight in my dashboard as to the state of my services business. Things such as projects by status, tasks by status, my items to approve, where I can go ahead and immediately or approve or reject certain transactions, like time card approvals or expense approvals. As I scroll down, additional information, and this can be personalized for me as a user, such as what does my billing and revenue summary look like, how much we've invoiced, expected revenue, recognized to date, what's my baseline revenue, what's my utilization, my supply and demand look like as well. So this would be an example of a dashboard for a project manager. At the same time, as a consultant, this might be a different dashboard that we can make available for consultants, people in the field. If I just switch over to this example now. So here's an example of a dashboard where, as a consultant, I can immediately see what are my tasks that I need to complete across various projects. What are the projects that I'm working on? And I can click into these tasks and projects and start working on them immediately. What I can also do here is I can click on any of these headers to sort, such as I want to sort my task by start date or due date as an example. And if I see a certain task that I want to take action on, such as this one here, I can just go ahead and move this one to in progress. I could have moved it to completed, whatever I need to do as a consultant in updating my task status. Take a minute there. All right. If I look at the right side of the dashboard here now as a consultant, I can see what my hours look like. So as an example, what my hours I've entered today, how many billable, non-billable total hours, what my hours look like this week, as well as if I scroll down, I can see what my utilization looked like both for the week as well as for today. So I can have immediate instant insight into where I am with respect to my billable utilization for the week. Furthermore, as a consultant, I can choose to open up my global action, as it's called, and I can enter time right from here, as opposed to having to navigate to my timesheet. Of course, all the time is going to be on my timesheet for later submission, but here I can easily enter time right from this homepage or from my global action as well. Of course, I could enter it in from various mechanisms, including from my mobile device. So that's an example of a consultant's dashboard to work on my tasks, my projects, and my timesheets, and see my hours and my utilization right from my dashboard. So let's continue my previous example. I've come back as the project manager. I'm on my home page. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to the My Work page. Think of the My Work page as the central area where a project manager and or a consultant can manage all their project-related tasks, even non-project-related tasks, all from one page. So here I can see all of my tasks that I'm working on across many projects, my marketing plan, my Krow implementation, my sprint project, my website design project, and so forth. And I can drag and drop as I'm working these tasks. Ones I haven't started yet, I'm working on. Ones are priority to complete. Ones that I've completed. I can create custom sections here as well. And this is called the card view. And one of the benefits of this view is as I'm working particular tasks, such as this one here, if I just click on this button, it's going to open up my right side navigation where I can start working on that task, such as scheduling resources, or if I have checklist items, you can see my task checklist items that I can simply complete here. And you can configure this to update your percentage complete of the task based on the completion of checklist items. I can open up my feed and collaborate on this task. I can even enter time on this task right from my Work page. I can manually enter time, as we saw on the global action here. I can even use my timer and just turn on my timer and then start working on that task, and later either pause or come back to that task and stop that timer to automatically create that time entry for me. So I can work on that task right from the My Work page. Furthermore, if I have the ability to do so, I can create a new task, or maybe I want to search. I'm just going to put in sales. It's automatically going to filter my task list based on the task that I'm looking at. I can just back that out. And this being the card view, and this could be as a user your default view, or maybe as a user you prefer the due date view. So I can switch to the due date view, and I can see tasks that are overdue today, this week, next week, and later. And I can complete one or many tasks here as well on the due date view. Or maybe as a user, I prefer the calendar view. So here I can work on this task from a calendar view. Again, clicking on this task opens up that right-hand panel for me to work on that particular task. So that's called the My Work view, bottom-up task management, managing all my project and non-project related tasks, all from one central location. Switching over to the My Projects view now. So if my work was bottom up, my projects is top down project management. I'm going to manage all of the projects that I'm associated to, whether I'm the project manager or just part of the project team. I can see this in a list view. I can see it in a card view. I can also see in a Gantt view. I can click into my project. In this example, I'm going to be looking at my client implementation project, and I can start managing that project on a day-to-day basis or completion for my customer. So here, I'll just expand that. Here I can immediately see all the project tasks, where they are in status, start date, due date, duration, progress, hours burned, who's been assigned that particular task. I can inline edit based on my security, such as status, completion, start date, and so forth. I can drag and drop tasks. As you can see here, add new tasks. What I can also do is click on this embedded analytic, and immediately right from this task page, I can see where we are with respect to percentage of completed in this project, where we are with hours on this project, how much we've estimated versus schedule, billable, non-billable, total logged hours, what's our burn rate on this project, what's our overall margin on this project look like. And this is completely configurable, can even be different from project to project as well. What I can also do is, you can see this task information drop down, which is the default. I can also immediately change my view and look at what is my task progress, what are my milestones look like, project issues, project risks. If I look at task progress as an example, here I can see additional information such as if it's billable, what we estimated the hours to be, what the percentage complete is for this task, and I can go ahead and just update that right from here as well in line as I'm working the particular task. Of course, as we saw on the My Work page, I can click into this task and I can manage this task right from here, scheduling resources on this task, looking at my time and actuals for this particular task, working on my checklist items, my notes, time entry, and so forth, right from my task page. So the project task page is a lot of information right at my fingertips that I can manage my project. I can click on the timeline task, and here I can see descending everything that's happening with this particular project. I can report on this as well. So here I can see total logged hours, exceeded hours on this particular task. What do the hours look like? Tasks have changed status. As I scroll down, I can see more information, such as there was a new project assignment added. If I scroll down more, I can see there was a project risk added, the project health changed, and so on. So everything happening with this particular project, offering me insight into the project itself and the status of this project, I can see at my fingertips. One of the newer items that we've added in Krow is now I have this new activity tab, where now what I can see is all activity, such as email activity that has occurred between the project, whether it be between project team members or even with the client. I can see that here as well, including any attachments that can be attached to the project. And the great thing here is that I can compose an email right from the project task page, including attachments, and it's going to track all of that email and reply activity right on the project. So as someone replies to this email, it will track that on the project as well. And when you're sending that email to a client, as an example, they don't need to be a user of the application. You can send it to any email address for that matter, and the replies will be tracked directly against the project itself. I can add project notes, as you can see here as well. I can also automatically send a status report to the client by email and PDF, which we'll see a little bit later as well. Of course, this being a project, you would expect to see a Gantt chart, and here is where I can manage all of my project tasks activity. I can inline edit here. I can add more columns. I can create a baseline. I can export this project to PDF, PNG, CSV, even export to MS Project. We can also import from MS Project as well. And I can click on any of these tasks, and consistent with the other views that we've seen, I can work on this task to completion right from here as well. So that is the My Project page. Now, stepping back for a moment, even before the project or the opportunity with your sales team has been won, I can work on my services proposals and contracts. So here's an example of a proposal that I'm working on, and I can add proposal line items, whether it be resource-based, hours and time, or fixed fee items, expense budget, and so forth. And as I'm adding my proposal lines, it is in real time tracking and updating what my target margin, my margin amount, percentage, expected revenue, budgeted cost is for this proposal. And I can create as many proposal versions as I wish. And once I do so, I can automatically create a project from this proposal. If the project's already been created, I can sync right to that project. I can also generate a proposal, such as a statement of work, for my client or my prospect right from here as well, using our delivered integration with Conga. And if you don't use Conga, you can integrate it to another a document generation solution that you may be using as well. But of course, this is our CPQ or services proposal, automatically creating projects, contracts right from the proposal as well. So we took a quick look at my work and my projects. Let's switch gears now, and we're going to look at the world from a resource manager's perspective. Now, in your organization, you might have a dedicated resource team or resource management group. Maybe this is just the project manager that's doing all of your resourcing on projects as well. But I've gone to a different view here, the resource manager's view. I'm going to go back to that same client implementation project now that we were on previously, and I'm actually going to navigate back to the Gantt chart. I'm going to show you two examples. First is if I want to resource a particular task, and then if I want to resource a particular project. And then finally, we'll look at the overall resource plan where I can get a bird's eye view of what everyone's working on in the organization. So here I'm back to my project here, my project tasks. And if I click on this particular task, I can see someone is already assigned this task, but I want to replace that person. I know that person might not be available. I can search for resources now, and it's going to default in information associated to that task, such as I know the project role as a consultant, I know I need the skill of Salesforce, and I want to, by default, search on all statuses. We'll talk about that later. I can go ahead and click search. Now, what it's going to show me is my available resources and my available placeholders in the second section here. We'll talk more about that later as well. But here I can see I do have another senior consultant available, 8 hours. And what it's doing is it's actually looking at scheduled and available hours during the time frame of this particular task. So it's not in general or forever. It's just for the particular task. In this case, it's only a one-day task. So I do have this consultant available, but I also have a placeholder, and I actually have this placeholder presumably on many other projects during this day, already scheduled 22 hours. So if I look at the total available of a resource, they're available, but net availability, if I take into consideration placeholders on other projects, I actually have no time available. And you might ignore that, or you can update the search criteria and say, you know what, I don't care about pipeline projects where there is placeholders attached that haven't closed yet. But in this case, if I do care, what I can do is I can start to play or manipulate that by, if I move, let's move this task to the next day. And it's automatically going to update now my availability. And I can see I've got no scheduled placeholders on Tuesday or that day. So now it looks like I'm okay to assign that resource on the Tuesday. And I can drag and drop tasks, and it will automatically update availability of resources based on how I'm manipulating the Gantt chart of the task, looking for availability. If I want to go ahead and assign, I just click that plus button. It will automatically assign that resource to the task, and of course to the project if they're not already on the project. So that's looking at task level scheduling. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to save that. I'm going to go back to the project now. And I'm going to look at it at a project level. So I'm going to go to the resource plan on the project. I'm going to look at this lead developer here that I want to replace on this project. Might be a placeholder, might be an actual resource. But now as I clicked on that person that I want to replace on this project, here the first row is showing me who I'm replacing and what they're currently scheduled on this project for. It shows me up top here, I'm on the client implementation project. I'm looking for a lead developer, 1,500 hours during this time frame for this particular project. So it's showing me the scheduled hours I need to replace. And down below, it's showing me now who's potentially available, including the same resource, but not including the hours on this particular project, but looking at other hours that person's on other projects. I can see what the available lead developers are in this example, and do they have enough hours to pick up? I can immediately see they don't, because this availability column here is comparing the time frame here, the hours required versus what is available. What it's also showing me again is placeholders on other projects and then the net availability. So I do actually have a lead developer placeholder only on 1 hour per week during this time frame, so it doesn't make too much of an impact here in my availability. But the important point here is in your business, you not only want to look at what resources are available to pick up work, but you have to look at there might be placeholders on other projects with that same role as an example, whether they be active or soft book projects, whether they be projects that haven't closed yet in pipeline. And you want to know your true availability, taking into consideration placeholders on other projects. What I can do here is if I just open up my filter, it's already defaulted in my lead developer. But as stated, when I look at placeholders, maybe I don't care about pipeline projects. So they haven't closed yet. I don't want to take them into consideration when I look at availability. I can just remove pipeline as the status and refresh. And now you're going to see there's no placeholder hours here. That hour placeholder was only on a pipeline project. So if I remove that, there's no impact here now as well. If I want to further compare these resources, I can check them and click Compare Resources, and I can see additional information on these resources as I'm considering these resources for inclusion or swapping out on this particular project, such as what's the team and region practice location, their skills and skills proficiency, what their cost or bill rate is. You can hide this information as well for certain or all users, target utilization, available hours, and so forth. So I can see additional information as I'm working this particular assignment that I want to replace on this project. And then the final example is I can access the Resource Planner tab. And here is where I can get an overview or bird's eye view, as I like to say, of where everyone's working, if they're over, under scheduled and color coded. I can see what that color coding means. Oop, meant to click on this one. What that color coding means here. I can also even manipulate that color coding if I want to see, well, if they're 125%, I still want them to be considered green, not only 100% as an example. And what I can do here is I can drill into a particular user, see any time off or holidays. I can see all the projects that they're working on, what they're scheduled to work on these projects. If I see the color coding here, this Amit is soft booked on this project, but he's booked on this project. And if you've noticed that there's 2 rows in this cell, it's because I'm comparing what they're booked on versus how many actual hours have been logged against this particular project in this particular week. I'm looking at this week view in this example here. What I can also do is I can drill down right to the task level. So maybe I went to my schedule view and I'm going to click Emit again, and I'm going to now drill down on this client Krow implementation, excuse me. Now I can see all the tasks that Amit is assigned. I can see his task level schedule, and I can even add more time here by just dragging and dropping. I'm going to add more scheduled time on this task. I can put in a percentage of effort or hours or total hours and click Save. What it's going to show me now is that it's warning me that my scheduled hours would exceed available hours during this time frame. And allowing me to continue and overschedule them, although it's warning me that by doing this, I am going to overschedule him based on his scheduled hours as well as his target utilization. Finally, I might be not as focused on what they're scheduled, but focused on how many hours are actually available. So I want to see available hours on particular projects so I can take that into consideration when scheduling. And then finally, I can look right at utilization, and we're in the first week of March here. I can already see some hours that have come in. I probably want to see that in percentages of utilization. Switch that over to percentages here. So I can see Amit's already 70% utilized for the week, and I can see on this project he's 70% utilized. I can switch that back to hours if I want to see that's actually 28 hours so far this week on this particular project. So I can see utilization information in real time right from my resource plan as well. And then finally, another view that we have available is something called the task planner. So here I can see what everyone's working on with respect to their tasks on various projects, and I can of course filter that by teams, by resources, by projects. This is a great view, highly used by agencies as an example, where they have very fine-grained, small duration tasks, so I can see what everyone's working on right down to the day level and the hour level, if you will. And I can see what everyone's working on. And of course, on the right side here, I can see tasks that have not been assigned yet, that I need to assign, what this account and project and task is for, the duration of this particular task. It's a 1-hour task that I need to staff, and I can just drag that over here, and it's going to assign that task now automatically to Jim just by dragging. I could drag it to someone else, but this is called the task planner, and I can see that by day, by week, by month, and go forward and backwards in time as I'm managing those tasks using the task planner. So that's an example of resource management within Krow. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to my finance manager. So we've managed, created projects, we're working projects, we've entered time and expense, and now it's time to bill our customers. And you can bill from Krow. You can generate billing events and just integrate that to your financial provider as well. And we support both mechanisms. So in this case, I'm going to generate invoices from Krow. I'm just going to go back in time here so I have some data to look at. And I'm just going to click search. And the system is automatically going to generate or pull back information based on what has been unbilled activity within that period of time, no matter what the billing type. And Krow supports many different billing types: fixed fee, time and materials, milestone, retainers, installment, recurring, and so forth. And it's going to pull back based on those rules any and all fixed amounts, time and expense amounts, expenses, and so forth that are available to be billed during the time frame I selected, and I can choose one or all projects and automatically create those invoices on demand. I could schedule this process to run, by the way, instead of manually doing this during a time frame, but normally this might be done on a monthly basis if you bill your customers monthly, and it will generate my invoices automatically. And then if I go ahead and look at a particular invoice, so here's an invoice. I have all of my invoice lines and my expense lines, my fixed fee, all my formatting options and so forth. I can preview that now. So I can preview that invoice in Krow. And when this comes up, you'll see some of the information that we capture on the invoice, and it's completely configurable, such as I've chosen to summarize by resource the hours on the first page of the invoice. I might want to, starting on the second page, the client wants a breakdown of all of the dates and tasks, even timesheet notes that the resource worked on that particular project or invoice, I should say. Here's a statement of expenses, and then even my receipt, my expense receipts, right on my invoice as well. And as I stated earlier, you might generate that invoice from Krow, and you can email that invoice directly to the client, or you might just change that status to posted within our product, and that will trigger integration automatically, creating that sales invoice, that vendor bill in your accounting system. And if I just navigate over to the integration hub, just to show you, these are some of the integrations that we deliver out of the box. They're all real-time integrations, such as NetSuite, QuickBooks, Sage, Sage Financial, Sage Intact, Accounting Seed, Xero, and more, as well as productivity integrations such as Slack, Jira, Zendesk, HubSpot, and more, that you can automatically integrate that those billing events to your financial application. So now what I'm going to do is let's just switch gears for a moment and talk about customers. So I mentioned that email communication with customers, but what I can also do is, we saw previously where I can send that status report to the customer. We can also make the status report available to the customer by way of a link. No login, no license required. They can get a real-time status report, as you can see here, displaying information such as, where the project health is, project notes you make available to the customer, project completion, hours, task completion, budget completion, this week's tasks, last week's issues, risks, and so forth associated with that project status report, and make that available, as I mentioned, whether it be an email with a PDF, whether it be a direct link that they can view in an email without requiring any logon or license directly from the application. What you might also want to do is you can have customers directly access the application through communities, such as a customer community, and you can expose any and all information, whether it be the project and tasks itself, timesheets, Gantt. Here's the chatter where they can ask questions and collaborate back and forth during the completion of this project. So this is the customer community that you can make available to your customers, where they can log in and collaborate and update information, even add information, whatever you want to expose and allow your customers to interact with that client project to ensure customer success. So that is working with customers on making sure that those projects are successful. And then finally, I'm just going to navigate over to sales now. So if you're sales or account management, maybe you're a Salesforce user. So here I'm on the sales side. And now, of course, if I go to my account information, I want to look at one of my accounts. And for those Salesforce users on the call, you'd be familiar with account management opportunities. Not only can I see all of my contacts for this account, my opportunities, my cases, but now I can see all of my projects. So here's all my services projects and where they are within status, percentage of complete, my services proposals, my services contracts, everything related to this project. I can see also right from the account all of the activities, such as the project status report was sent, there was an email communication sent, all of that directly from the account. So as a sales representative, account manager, I can get real-time insight from sales through service delivery of where my customer is in the life cycle or journey of my customer, especially if I'm trying to upsell that customer with a new opportunity. And depending on my security, I can go ahead and just click on that project right from here and get additional information on that project, such as where are we with revenue summary, how much time has been submitted, and any and all financial metrics as appropriate for the resource related to this particular project. And if I wanted to actively work on this project, maybe I was a project manager looking at this account, at any time I can view this project in Krow or navigate right to the Gantt chart, the resource plan, and so forth from this account page. And of course, automatically creating projects from opportunities as well. So that was a quick 30-minute product demonstration of Krow. Hopefully you saw how Krow really delivers the best user experience for all stakeholders in the successful delivering of services to your clients, whether it be sales, services, project managers, consultants, finance, resource management, and so forth, all in one integrated suite of Krow Professional Services Automation. So thanks everyone for attending today. Hope to speak with you soon.